All right, Gabe. So my name is Gabe Paez. Just like Aileen said, I head the product team developing our XR solutions at Autodesk. It's been quite a journey with XR over my career to get here, and I'm sort of excited to dive into some of the lessons I've learned and really the state of where we are right now, not just with XR, but specifically as it relates to the building industry. And I always like to start with the why this is important, why we're here, why this is relevant. Often, XR is looked at as a solution in search of a problem. I would argue that for the AEC industry, it's exactly the opposite. And it all starts with the reality that, so if we were to describe an oil painting with words, is just as fraught as trying to describe a building with a document, a picture, or a video. The reality is, we do this all the time. It's not that it can't be done. This is exactly how we work today. But we have to acknowledge that despite our best efforts to make data more accessible in the AEC industry, critical information gets lost in translation when we make these abstractions. And so this is really a problem that has always existed. You know, it's a problem that's sort of fundamental to building, is we're trying to realize something that is very difficult, if not impossible, to prototype the entirety of. You can do very small sections, but we've sort of shimmed all of these abstractions in place, and really this is the promise of XR. Can we remove those abstractions? Can we iterate on ideas at the speed of thought rather than the speed of construction? And when I say iterate, I mean full life cycle. Just like we were just seeing in the prior presentations, we're saying not just to a documentation of what we want to build, but a full-on experience, just like we'll have when we're walking this building at the end of the day. So much time is spent in scale model mode today in our tools that we often lose sight of the one-to-one. We lose sight of standing there on the floor, and in doing so, you see issues. You see issues that you wouldn't otherwise, and we see this every day in our products. Our sales teams out there often, in the very first demo we give somebody of one of our softwares, they'll catch an issue with their model in that demo that proves the entire benefit of working in XR, and that's always a really magical moment. You see something that you wouldn't have seen otherwise, and the value is just there. So at Autodesk, we're really looking at the entire suite of value that XR can create throughout the life cycle of a building. And really, there's so much potential, so many ways that we can apply this toward the building process that it's really hard to narrow in what we should do now and what we should do later. But I will say we've looked very carefully at each of these 6 boxes. We found alignment, product market fit with where we are right now, and charted forth a course where over time we intend to really create a suite of solutions that will address the entire building lifecycle. So straight from idea, through collaboration, through your client engagements, coordination amongst all of the different stakeholders on a project. And then, of course, even as we get toward operations and maintenance over time, there's so much value to exposing the data from these digital twins and putting it in the hands of these stakeholders that really need it. But stepping back into the current moment, we say, how can we use XR today? And of course, there are many different possibilities. We can look at small prototypes of using XR through all of those different phases in the life cycle today. But what we've seen in terms of real traction, where we're not just putting a pin in something for the future, but we feel like this is really the value we can create today for you, we're looking at primarily ideation. So trying to understand what is possible and what we can do, and rapidly iterating, like I was saying, from idea to full-on experience at one-to-one scale at the speed of thought rather than the speed of construction. So rapid ideation. Number 2, collaboration. Getting people together from all over the world and just putting them in the same room, really solving this fundamental challenge we have right now around distributed teams and our expectations of what it means to be remote. The pandemic just fundamentally changed the equation here. Autodesk, we just released a study on the challenges that face the AEC industry right now, and these challenges around the shift in perception about how work is done among team members and clients is really just foundational. This expectation that we're going to fly it for every meeting, for every review into a conference room is being just challenged day in and day out. And so how can we provide digital solutions to collaborate on content at distance that are as effective, if not more effective, than traveling to that conference room? This is really the promise of XR. Review. So how do we just give feedback? How do we track issues inside of a space? How do we give the accessibility to track those issues and chart their progress over time to everyone on a project, not just to a few key stakeholders? And then, of course, coordination. One of the huge challenges on any significant project, bringing all of these designs together and making sure that we have something that is actually constructible. So as we look forward, really this is our vision. It is both our platform vision, but also our XR vision in many ways. It is a vision of better collaboration through connection, because this is the sole, a lot of people look at XR, it's a visualization technology, it's a simulation technology, but truly the innovation of XR is collaboration. It is not just producing a vision for one, but a vision for many, and alignment on that vision, just as we do in a physically built environment. And so we've got connected data, which is, of course, a big part of what we need to do across all projects, just finding ways to stitch data together and make it connected, connecting workflows between softwares to make that data accessible. And then the final one, and really the pinnacle here, is connecting teams. So the people, and making sure that they have a mutual understanding and alignment on this data in a way that is uniquely capable in XR. So really all of this is to say that we're trying to enhance our understanding through collaboration utilizing XR technologies. Now, we've seen a lot of different, case studies in this event on how different companies and providers are using this technology to create this alignment. But it's important to sort of step back and say the purpose of all of this is to reduce these sort of fundamental misunderstandings that are common in our industry that create downstream problems that are both expensive, time-consuming, and frustrating as we go along. Now, what are our challenges right now? We've got a suite of our latest headsets that 5 years ago I would have only dreamed about. Like, these headsets, it is amazing what they're capable of. It's so common in our industry, we take like the technology for granted, all the sensors and the compute power that's possible on these mobile devices, that we forget just 5 years ago, 10 years ago, for sure, 2 decades ago when this technology was really coming up, was the thing of fantasy, of science fiction. Now, these headsets are incredibly powerful, especially this next generation, what we've seen now announced by Apple and by Quest with the Quest 3 and the Apple Vision Pro. These are amazing technologies that really are the culmination of so many different advances in discrete software development and hardware coming into one common experience. But let's be honest, these headsets are still relatively bulky, even the most current state-of-the-art. It's a thin pair of ski goggles, but it's still a pair of ski goggles, not a lightweight pair of glasses. You're still largely holding controllers, but we are seeing some advancement in that in terms of better hand recognition. And then, of course, we've got the social perception angle here. So what is it like? And what is the social perception of wearing a headset around others? In many ways, I still look at this like, do you guys remember the early days of like Bluetooth headsets where you saw this, business person with the headset in walking down the street, and there was an initial like, it took people time to really get used to this idea of somebody wearing a headphone talking to no one walking down the street. And those like social cues and the advancement and alignment of hardware and what is acceptable and what is even encouraged in a workplace, it's just often it moves slower than our technology does. And so these are all, I just like to acknowledge, number one, how far we've come, where we are today, but also how far we still have to go in all of these directions. And we can sort of handle all of these things at the same time. So I talked a little bit about this earlier, but I want to mention the promise of AI and the convergence of AI with this technology. In many ways, I think these are very mutually dependent technologies. And it's not that they aren't excellent on their own, but these two technologies, XR and AI, will together create an experience which will be unmatched across anything that could happen discreetly. So number one, with XR, why does XR really need AI? Well, it's the accessibility of the interface itself. It is the idea that rather than physically, like you're seeing here, reaching down and manipulating items, moving them from place to place, you're able to just ask for manipulations of your model. We're able to not just detect your voice, but we're able to understand what you want and intuit what you're looking for in a way that an AI can execute on. This manual manipulation that we do today, not just in XR, but in our desktop applications, will be obsolete once we have an AI underfooting that. Now, the opposite, why, in my view, AI needs XR is because the interface we have today of interacting with AI largely through chat-based or text-based interfaces is not great. It's not as great as it could be. It's amazing, it's powerful, but we're humans. We don't. We want to move at the speed of vision and thought and information. So just being able to communicate via voice, via visuals, via sound, via smell, all of these more natural human instincts rather than long blocks of text is going to be an incredible advancement for AI and a way for AI to fundamentally come into our world and visualize and manipulate our world in a way that is more natural for us. Stepping back a minute to our existing solutions, this has been mentioned, and I'm not here to sell you on the Wild or Prospect, just to say that there are ways to get started today with this technology. And a lot of, we're bouncing back and forth between the future and where we are now, but the reality is there's no better time to get started as we build out these future capabilities, but now is an excellent time to just get comfortable with where we are and create value for your team today that is not possible in any other way. And so I just encourage people to really lean into that, to whether you go with our Autodesk solutions, the Wild or Prospect by Iris VR, or another provider, get started and experiment with what you can do in XR today. Prove out the value, interact with us, feedback to us. Maybe I will pitch out our XR feedback community. A lot of people are enthusiasts here. And it's a great way to interact directly with my team who's building out these products, engage with the feedback community. Our product managers every single day are meeting with industry folks like yourself to try to come up with better and better solutions that can advance these products into the future, that are more integrated, more connected, easier to use, more portable, more accessible. All of these things are so important, and it really requires a collaboration with the industry to make that happen. But what I really want to leave you with today is really a mandate. In my view, we must make BIM as comprehensible as the building itself. And I feel like this gets lost often. We strive toward this in different ways. Don't get me wrong. Everyone, all of us are trying to make this happen. But BIM in and of itself, the data, is only as useful as it can be understood by the project stakeholders. And so we can't lose sight in the underlying technologies here that the purpose, why we're all here, why we're building all these disparate systems to optimize, to enhance, to make higher fidelity simulations and visualizations is solely to enhance our understanding and our confidence that what we're building isn't just going to work. It's not just the baseline of making sure there aren't any issues with it, but that it's the best possible idea. And so through transforming ideas and iterating on them at the speed of thought, we can get to the best ideas, which are going to build better buildings, which are going to build better cities and societies of the future. And so that's really what I get excited about at the end of the day with what we're doing and the potential power of it. I do have a few extra minutes if anyone has any questions. Otherwise, we can leave it with that. All right. Wonderful. Well, thank you all for listening. I appreciate your time. Take care.